Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a torta with a snack habit. Bye up, bye up. Let's get straight to that intro. Welcome back to the channel. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that I stay kicking. And I highly appreciate it. And I'm very humbled. So if you haven't watched part one, disclaimer right now, go watch part one of the Fresno Bulldog interview reaction, where the guy was basically breaking down the Bulldog, the history of the Bulldogs, why they defected away from the Norteño cause, and also some of the details of what's going into his history. Now, in this part two, we're going to get into reacting to him telling stories about Bulldog's inner conflict while in prison, because we all know that the Fresno Bulldogs are segregated from Norteños and Southsiders, meaning in CDCR and the California prison system on the yards, they do not function well together. They are no longer involved in the reindeer games. Bulldogs are kept separate in their own yard. When the CDCR does try to integrate Bulldogs back into the general population yards with Northerners and Southerners, there's a lot of conflict, and it happens fast. If you remember, there was a video that was put out a while back where it showed Bulldogs in paper suits. Those are the jumpsuits that they put you in when they transfer you, when they transpack you. They didn't even make it to R&R. There was about 10 of them on the yard when Northerners and Southerners rushed them, and all hell broke loose. So we're going to get into part two. We're going to pick up where we left off in part one, and let's react and break this down.
And then that's how I got a lot of my respect, and that's how I moved up real quick. See, right now there's a bunch of youngsters, because I got two brothers that are still active gang members, Bulldog gang members, and I talk to them constantly. And right now, if you look at the Fresno news, there's a murder every day in Fresno. It's gang related. Fresno is what I call a gang city. It's not like LA. LA, you got your cholos, your gang members, your Crips and all that. And then up north, Fresno, it's a family. It's like your mom, your dad, your uncles, your grandma, your grandpa are gang members. You go to.
So basically, what he's saying is it's generational. And there's a lot of cities all the way from LA. And, a lot of people always, if you notice, they compare their city with Los Angeles. There's no comparison. Okay, we're talking about LA and the rich, deep, intricate history of the Raza, Cholos, Pachucos, which Pachucos come from Texas. They originate in Texas and then leak off into Los Angeles, which was, and then turned into the Cholos that we had then. I won't say now because it's a lot different now. Now it's skinny jeans and Pontius Pilate haircuts and painted fingernails. But back then, there was the Cholo style, the Ben Davises, the creases, the suspenders, Stacey Adams, hush puppies, khakis, Cortezes, all that good stuff, right? But everyone always tries to compare their city with Los Angeles. There's no comparison. The size, the history of LA, anything that any other city is going to do, they already did it. Or they're doing it now, right? They laid the foundation when it comes to Latino or Raza gangs. They've been done that, okay? So let's just keep it real. I like to keep it real and say that LA, there's no comparison to it. But at the same time, there is a lot more gangs in the city of Los Angeles in comparison to any other city in California. You got a barrio or a neighborhood on every block, and there are a lot of willings and dealings between the brothers, the blacks, the Crips, the Bloods, of course, and the Southerners. But in the city of Fresno, you have a mix where the Bulldogs are the majority, but you do have a few Northerners. Some Southerners are starting to get deeper in the city of Fresno. Then you got your Asian gangs like TRG and MOD. And then you got black gangs, okay? Six Dudes Diamond Crips, the Bloods that are out there. And a lot of these groups, they beef with each other in the city of Fresno. Now, as far as the Raza, every Mexican gang is pretty much generational. Your father was in the mix. Your father's father was in the mix. Your kid's probably going to be, unfortunately, in the mix. That's just how it is. But I could understand this guy coming from the city of Fresno just explaining how he comes from generational gangbanging which is so unfortunate, man. But it's a reality. But like I said, to compare it with LA, there's no comparison.
Family reunion in Fresno, everybody's a gang member. You see your grandma, she's 50, 60, 75 years old, tattoos on her neck, ex homegirl. My mom.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
The real deal.
My mom, she's like 69, I think, right now, and she's an old school homegirl también. And my dad's an old school Pachuco, so we grew up in this, Everybody's gang related. That's what I call Fresno. Fresno's a gang related city. You go to the news right now, there's a murder every day. And that's how Fresno is right now. It's gang related. My little brothers tell me.
And it's nothing to be proud of, right? It's nothing to be proud of. And I heard right now, he said, my little brother taught me, little brothers are not supposed to teach you shit. You're supposed to teach them, right? To hopefully stay away from the bullshit. But it's I don't want to say it's bragging, but to sit there and say, hey, my city's gang related, my city's this, my city's that, that's unfortunate. People that live off that, I notice it happens all the time. Oh, my city's harder than you are. Our murder rate's higher, this and that. Man, clean your shit up, bro. You don't want to raise a family or kids around that type of environment, so like, it's not cool. But I understand when you're gangbanging, like, the more violence there is, the harder you are. And I guess that's more notoriety. But anyone who's gamed up, who's educated, who's a grown man will say that's nothing to brag about. Just like, you don't brag about if you've committed murders in the past or you've been involved in violence, you can't live off of that fame. You did that. It's part of the game and you move on, right? Unfortunate, someone had to lose their life and you at your hands or vice versa. But yeah, it's like, I understand Fresno is very gang related. Fresno's no joke. People that have never been to Fresno, they don't understand. It's dangerous.
Even if you don't want to be in a gang no more, you still got to have a gun. You still got to be strapped. And talking to homies that just came from the streets, they go, man, people be caught sleeping, pumping gas at the welfare line, at the store, So you got to have a gun. Like, if I were to get out, even though I don't want to be a gang no more because of who
I take everything back. I know he's a real one. He said, motherfucking homies getting out of prison, getting caught up in the welfare line. Look. That's some real shit. He's trying to go get his GR, right? Motherfucker trying to go get their stamps. And they get whacked or they get hit up. Hey, homie, you active? I'm actively trying to get some food stamps. Shit. You know what I'm saying? Shit, they gave you 310, eh? Fuck, they only gave me 280, right? That's welfare lines. Any place that's public where there's a lot of that element of people, right? And unfortunately, I hate to say that poor people do make poor decisions a lot of the times, right? Taco trucks, gas stations, restaurants, places like this in dangerous cities where crime and gangs have infested. It's a dangerous situation. And like he says, man, even if you're an active or non-active gang member, you might feel like you have to be in possession of a weapon to protect yourself. Again, guns ain't going to stop anyone from getting off on you. But it definitely makes you feel more comfortable.
And my reputation, I would have to carry a gun on me, either that or be a victim. And sad to say, I had a lot of homies that have been down 15, 20 years to get out and get killed a week later. That's how gang related Fresno is. Fresno, we have a bunch of neighborhoods, but right now it's the youngsters that are rapping, that are going wild right now. They're not thinking about nothing. They don't care about nothing. They're thinking shoot first, ask questions later. That's not only just one, a few of my homies that gotten out after doing 15, 20 years. And a week later they get killed. Well,
and it happens, man. If you look at it, if you break it down, and if you're analytical and you break it down into numbers, same thing when I was in the youth authority and prison. If you looked around to your left and right, those homeboys that were around, over 80% of them were going to be incarcerated by the time you got out, right? They're going to be back on a new case. And about 20% of them were going to pass, due to gang related violence. Because when you're in the mix and you're living that life, man, that life is serious, right? Now, as far as him saying the youngsters are out there tearing it up, that's every generation. There's always going to be, it's always they call them the older heads now. That's what we are, right? But we're always going to look at the younger generations and like, man, these fools are off the hook. They just don't care. The dudes from the 80s were saying that about the dudes in the 90s. Damn, these youngsters just don't care, man. It's always going to be like that. Because when you educate and indoctrinate these youngsters into becoming gang members and representing, they're just taking it to a new level. Now that you have social media, these guys are like clout chasing. It's not even about the gangs anymore. It's about the reputation and the recognition that you get from being a fool, right? But you're never going to see the aftermath. You're going to see the stories about how someone got killed or the homie got off or they jumped this dude at the fair or this shit happened, but you never get to follow that dude's life of how he's doing life and what happens. And then when you do later on, everyone's, oh, he's a gangster. Oh, he did this. And then later on, you find out he's on the SNY yard beating, claiming native or something, right? And dude's, oh, he's a piece of shit. He's no good, right? Motherfucker either wised up or just found himself in a worse position than he was already in life.
Like Fresno is like, it's a small town. Everybody knows everybody, and everybody knows when you're getting out. You know, it's like, and let's say, you know, you get people that will set you up, like girls. You know, come to this party, this and that, and then like me, I stabbed a lot of people since I've been in prison. I stabbed a lot of people, and you know, homies too. So that'll follow you. And I got other homeboys that done the same thing. You know, because in prison, like right now. On a 180, we didn't have no enemy. We didn't have no Sureños. We didn't have no Norteños to funk with. So we would funk with each other. And then that's how we would make enemies. We'll get off with each other, and then that'll carry on to the streets. And, you know, you see somebody, you know, that stabbed your cousin, you know, you're going to get your run back.
So basically, Fresno, the way they're functioning behind the walls within the prison yard, because they have no opposition, there's no Norteños, no Sureños, because, again, they're segregated from North and South. They start to cannibalize each other. All gangs do that, man. You know, there's always some type of funk or drama created amongst each other, whether it's inner politicking, smutting people up, dirty macking on people, or just, you know, people want positions, so they power play, power trip. But what it looks like with the Fresno Bulldogs is they're bored. They want to create that drama, so they start beefing with each other and even taking street beefs, gang-related gang banging into prison. There's a difference between prison gangs and street gangs. Street gang politics don't matter when you're in prison, man. There is no barrios. There is no 18. I think they vato there's from 18th Street. Chale, there's no La Primera, no 18. Together, we stick together for power, right? That's how it's supposed to be. But the Bulldogs, because it's just dogs, they start set tripping, basically, is what I'm getting from him.
And, you know, and everybody's out there right now with that gunplay. Ain't nobody fist fighting. Ain't nobody, you know, everybody's out with that gunplay. And, yeah, it's like I say, you know, when we get out after 15, 20 years, and just to get killed a week later.
Sad.
I just ran into somebody here the other day, and he goes, you're from Fresno? I was like, yeah. He goes, oh, you know Blinded? And I was, he asked my homie from my neighborhood. And he goes, oh, I heard he got killed. They ran up on him. I'm like, that right? I didn't even know that.
I know who that is. Blinded's from Mackenzie Street. I think I did time in, I don't know if it was a youth authority or in passing, but I know who that is, and I'm for sure he's from Mackenzie Street.
And I was like, man, that was one of my good homies I grew up with from my neighborhood, and he got killed. And I was like, wow.
Wow, I didn't know that.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I just talked to my little brother too, and then my little brother who was with me in Pleasant Valley. My little brother, my Sally, and we had a little homeboy named Potato. He was from Mackenzie. That's my neighborhood in Fresno. And he only had 4 years. He only had 4 years to go. And then I called my little brother the other day, and I told him, you know, what's going on, what's the latest, you know, because my little brother's from my neighborhood too. And he goes, oh, I remember Potato? And I go, yeah, they killed him. Like, nah. And I go, what happened? He goes, I don't know. He was walking late at night around 1 o'clock, you know.
You know, it always trips me out, right? And even just like right now hearing about Blinded, it trips me out because you'll be all in the mix, right? Creating chaos, gang banging. You know what comes with that? Death, prison, all the bullshit, right? All the shit that you're trying to do to other people is happening to your own at the same time, right? But it always, when you hear about a homeboy, you get locked up or you go away for a while and then you hear about, oh, the homeboy's gone, man. This happened to him, that happened. We're always shocked, huh? Like we can't believe it. Best believe it. When you're living that life, that's part of it.
Like in the neighborhood, and someone pulled up to him, and you know, they got him. And he went to the funeral, and you know, his family were Mexican orientated. You know, meaning they're paisas. You know, he grew up in Fresno, but his family were the type that worked in the field. They didn't know nothing about it, and they didn't know nothing about gangs or nothing. But that hurt me because he was a youngster. He was like in his 28 years old, and he just did 4 years in prison for a stupid mistake, and then got out and wasn't even out that long, and he died at the prime of his life. Gang-related, murder.
Well, here's the thing, right? And it's unfortunate. I hope that you youngsters that are watching this get it. When he says, and that's a telltale right there. When he says, hey, He died at the prime of his life. Well, he was gangbanging in the prime of his life. So he died right on time, unfortunately, right? When your prime is going out there victimizing people, terrorizing the community, gangbanging, or whatever the fuck you're doing, which was what I was doing. So I'm not a hypocrite. It's the truth, right? If I die in the prime of my life, it's because in the prime of my life, that's the type of lifestyle I was living. So it sucks, man, for his homeboy, his younger homeboy that didn't get to change or get to enjoy things in life, but it's part of that life, most definitely.
And what I tell everybody, one thing about Fresno is, in Fresno, the cops when it comes to a gang murder, they don't care. They don't care about gangs. You could go up to somebody, as long as it's a gang-related murder, they let it happen. They don't investigate it or nothing. That's why in Fresno they're so brave.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
It's so easy to kill somebody in Fresno and get away with it, you know, because they don't really care about gang-related murders. It varies. You got like Bulldog on Bulldogs, like some stuff that happened, like I was telling you earlier, in prison. You know, things that follow you. You know, and you see your enemy or somebody that's that your brother, your cousin, and you know you get your chance. You know, you do what you do. And then I heard, you know, the homies, you know, they're also beginning to it. As recently, there's been a lot of Salinas that have been moving into Fresno, so they're going at it with them.
And there is a lot of Southerners are everywhere, you know. It always boggles my mind. It makes me laugh when dudes are like, they're not in my town. They'll be there. It's like a movie, bro. Fool, Michael Jackson movies playing everywhere. They're not playing it in my town. Fuck, they will. You guys will get Michael, or you'll get the Timu version called Tito. Either way, Southsiders are coming to a theater near you. They're going to be there, right? Southsiders have always been in Fresno County. One of their strongholds has always been Sanger Sureños. They've been there. I know there was a game called 6th Street in Fresno that was around for years. But what you have is they're more on the outside. You know, you got to understand a lot of the outside towns of Fresno's in the valley, a lot of agriculture, right? So you got a lot of farmers, man. North Enders aren't the only farmeros, right? You got a lot of farmers and a lot of picking going on. So a lot of the paisas come, or people that go with the seasons. They follow the fields, they follow the work, right? And you got a lot of these paisas that go and they go to these camps, these labor camps, and they're working, and their kids are going to school and they get indoctrinated and they become gang members. And so Fresno has a lot of that, and a lot of those dudes, because they came from Southern California, they got that influence already. And they become part of Southsider gangs, or they establish, or they're already there. Either way, the dudes move from LA, dudes move from San Diego, the IE, and they go and create these gangs that are not really homegrown, but they're gangs from LA that they import over there, right? So Southerners are definitely getting deeper in Fresno. I mean, Bulldogs are the deepest, and there's a few Northerners on the west side. There always has been West Fresno Norte, but Southerners are definitely getting deep.
You know, I guess now they got the MS gang members moving in. So the homies right now, they're just a big old freak for all right now. And then we be going at it a lot with the blacks and the Asians. Like not too long ago, I'm sure you've seen on the news where there was what are those murders called when there's a lot of people? A mass shooting. It happened in 2019. It was in Fresno. It was like 7 Asians. Well, it was Asians. It was that time. It was the Asians and my homeboys. I remember I was in New.
The Bulldogs used to go at it pretty rough with the TRGs back in the days, if I recall. TRGs, man, you know, they go at it with a lot. If you notice, TRGs go at it with a lot of Chicano gangs, a lot of Mexicanos all the time. You know, in Long Beach, in Fresno, it seems it's just they always rub each other the wrong ways for whatever reasons. The two groups.
Folsom, and they made the world news. There was a mass shooting in Fresno, and that was between the Bulldogs and Asian gangs. They shot like seven family members at a party. That was a mass shooting. I think 2019. It came out on the news. It was world news. I remember I seen it in the world news when I was in New Folsom prison, and that was on Bulldog on Asian shooting right there. Well, from my understanding, if one of my homies shot at an Asian in front of his family members. And then, you know, this agent told him, you know what, I want my family, not right now. And my homie was like, he didn't care, and he still shot at that, the Asian, with just being around his family, and he was all right. Well, that was retaliation. Well, the Asian did come by at a party, and he did tell everybody, look, I'm telling you guys right now, you guys better leave. If not, whoever's here are gonna get killed. He did give him the heads up. I give him that. And
common courtesy. He's like, hey, I'm going to give you guys 10, 9, 8, right? It started going. It's crazy.
And, they didn't believe him. And sure enough, he came back with a few of the homies. And then, they were all in the backyard. And then they just started dumping. And when they started dumping, I think like 7 people died that day.
Mm.
And that's what it was over. It was, retaliation over a homie shot somebody else earlier. And, and these guys just came back with all his homies and he let loose in the backyard full of people. I forgot what holiday they were celebrating. I think it was like a football game or something. They were celebrating something. I think it was a football game.
Hmm.
That they had so many people right there at the party. It's like right now it's between Lewis and Bond and Lewis and McKenzie Street, my barrio. We be going at it. It's like it's one of the things where when you see each other, there's nothing to say. You just start shooting, and there's like a ongoing feud in prison and on the streets, and you just can't be around each other. Like McKenzie, not.
See, a lot of people get the misconception that all Bulldogs get along, or they're just all one group. They all claim the Bulldog moniker or organization, I guess. But there's different cliques, different barrios, like Lewis, RTL, you got Bond, Calawa, you got Pleasant Street, all these college, all these different gangs and streets and groups, right? But they're all under Bulldogs, but they don't all get along.
Too long ago, I got jumped by Lewis Street in Salinas Valley. I got stabbed pretty bad because I had stabbed somebody from Lewis Street in Corcoran. So when I hit Salinas Valley, when I got out the shoe, that neighborhood was deeper than mine. And I ended up getting stabbed and all that, but because I was a big homie, I was considered at that time a big homie, well known and all that, they green-lighted Lewis Street. They got green-lighted in all the prisons, out on the streets, and in the county jails. They were getting got. Well, that's what started a war between us, McKenzie Street, and Lewis Street. And I remember there's 4 other cats that have a lot of influence. Well, one of them was, another homie from Lewis Street. And me and him, we're like oil and water. We don't get along, and and wherever we see each other, it's one of the things where there's nothing to be said. We just, we do what we do, and it just happened that time. He was there at Salinas Valley Prison, and he had more homies than me. But like I said,
these stories are interesting, huh?
I had more influence with the Bulldog car. It was a 45 man riot that day. But it was like 15 of his neighborhood, and the rest was all me, all my homies, and from
Bulldog on Bulldog crime. It's like red on red. Imagine a yard. These vatos are placed on a yard to be separated from a common enemy, only to have a 40-man riot amongst each other. The fucking administration was tripping that day.
Other areas and stuff, but if I was between McKenzie and Lewis, or Lewis and Bond Street, that'd be going at it like tough. Well, between I could tell you the backstory between Bond Street and Lewis Street. It's over something stupid. It's always some Lewis Streeter went to a house party for a Bond Streeter, and then a Lewis Streeter stole a Bond Streeter a wife's purse, And then once they found out, it was over that. Well, the boyfriend of the female that the person belonged to ran into the Lewis Streeter, and then on the streets. Well, this is one thing that they show in the movie Menace to Society, where the actor runs up to the rival gang member and puts the gun in his stomach and he lets loose. Well, that's what my homeboy did to him. That's what we call it, right? He did the same thing. He put the gun up to his stomach and just let him have it. Bam, bam, bam. The homie didn't die. He didn't die. I don't know how he survived. But after that, that's what kicked it off between Lewis Street and Bond Street, because
shooting someone in the stomach several times, well, that'll do it. That'll create a rivalry, guaranteed. At least it went from a woman's purse, right? And she was probably on that thing and she needed her Tampax. So it went from that to straight menace to society.
That was kind of cool to do that. And as for my neighborhood and them, it was because me and Bear, the homie from Lewis Street, he's their big homie. He's pro Lewis Street, like all he cares is about his neighborhood. Me, I'm pro Bulldogs. I was all about bringing Bulldogs up and was doing it right. And like I said, me and him, we're never together on the yard. Whenever I'm in the shoe, he's on Salinas, and whenever he's in the shoe, I hit Salinas. And at that one time,
so they were just missing each other, man. I've been like that where, me and a family member or me and someone that I didn't get along with, we were just missing each other barely.
I got there and they were, every time I get there, they're telling me all the what we call the achievement, what's going on, all the drama and everything. I was like, well, that's not happening because I'm here now. And they just having Bear and them had just barely stabbed some young homie from Bond Street, and they were telling me about it. He went to the hole, and I was like, all right. What just happened, he got kicked back out to the yard. And then at that time, we were on lockdown because of that incident, and I had already got there from the shoe. And then I told Bear, look, you know what time it is as soon as we go to yard. So sure enough, here comes yard. Everybody was strapped, but everybody was waiting on me and Bear.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And you know what? It would be crazy to hear the backstory on why him and this one particular individual, they hated each other. There's sometimes in life, there's just a dude you just can't fuck with. He just don't fuck with you. You guys don't vibe, man. It's like you said, oil and water. I get it, but I would love to hear the story behind why him and this guy felt the need to be on site with each other to the point of stabbing or hurting each other over, I don't know if it was a disagreement, a chick, money, whatever, or just basically wanting to be that one. It seems like these two guys were both shot callers or had influence. And so that was the beef right there. Like, hey, I'm him. No, I'm him. No, you want to be him? No, I'm him. I don't fuck with him. That's what it seemed like.
Me and Bear, we took a stroll around the yard, and I'm telling him about everything that they've done, And he's scared of me because I'm a big guy, and he's not so big, And I'm telling him about all these dudes that they're stabbing, going against Bulldog, what we agreed upon and what we are, we're trying to, establish there. I'm pretty much telling him all his faults, and he's telling me no tricks there, not like this, trying to, backpedal. And finally, I make my move. I always carry my weapon on my wrist. I had a 9-inch metal on me, and I had wrapped my wrist with a rubber band, and I know how to flex my wrist where it dropped down. And I was wearing a sweater that day. As soon as I got it down, and he was right next to me, and I hit him in his chest. You can feel the wind just come out of him. He just goes, you feel the wind come out of him. And right when I was gonna go for the second hit, he grabbed me by my sleeves from the sweaters that I was wearing. And at that time, I had one of my homeboys from my neighborhood walking behind me, and he had one of his homeboys from his neighborhood walking behind him for security purposes. So that really, I already knew what was gonna happen. Everybody knew. And then at that time, when he grabbed me by the sleeves, the homie came from behind me real quick, and he sliced my eye open. And after that, I couldn't see. I went down. And then
they call the homeboy One-Eyed Jack.
And when I hit him, I didn't notice where I hit him in front of, and I just happened to hit him in front of his neighborhood, their little area. Well, 5 of them got on me, and then the field, they shot the Mini 14 to get them off of me. And then, they were stabbing me, I got hit a few times, and then they shot the Mini 14 to get them off of me. And then once they got off of me, then the whole car rushed all Lewis Street. And after that, it was all bad. I had 3-4 homeboys surround me, and they were telling me because I couldn't see because of my eye, And then they were like, "Hey, take still care, we got you." They were, they were surrounding me, they were covering me. And then I just heard, the Mini 14 going off, and then, and then, for what I could see, Lewis Street running around, everybody was chasing them. And then after said and done, I was the worst one that got hit. So right away they took me off the yard and airlifted me by helicopter to UC Davis in San Jose Hospital due to my injuries. And then I ended up coming back that day. And then I seen what happened. I heard what happened. Out of Lewis Street, all of them got punctured. They had puncture holes, slices, and everything. And then from my side, there was only 3 of us: me, my Sally, and then a homeboy from North Side that got. So the Bulldog gang.
How is it that everyone tells this story? They always won. Yeah. There was 10, 15 of them. They were all cut up. No, there was only 2 of them. They only got 2 of us. They be bullshitting now. For real. Straight up, man. Let's get back to it.
I seen what happened. I heard what happened. Out of Lewis Street, all of them got punctured. You know, they had puncture holes, slices, and everything. And
everyone.
From my side, there was only 3 of us, me, my Salinas, and a homeboy from North Side that got hit. He got his throat slit. But that's
if you don't stop it, bro, keep it 100 on Paru. Keep it 100, right? Look, bro. Oh, there was 30 of us on the yard. 4 of them, right? 4 of them. We fucked them up. Yeah, all of them got cut up and only a couple of us. You know what I mean? Or there was 50 of them and 50 of us, and every one of them got fucking their eyelids cut off, and one of them was getting fucked by the latrine, and only one of us got fucked.
To that, the homies told me, look, we're going to greenlight Lewis Street because, you know, it's supposed to be a one-on-one between you and Bear. But every time they jump you, we're greenlighting them. They're going to get got everywhere. And sure enough, I didn't have to say anything. I didn't do nothing. And they were getting got in Corcoran Prison, in Salinas. They were getting got in Pleasant Valley, Avenal, in the county jail. And then me, I couldn't go back to Salinas Valley, so they transferred me back to Corcoran Prison. And sure enough, right there, they were getting got too.
Wow, it's just a trip to hear the stories of Bulldog on Bulldog activity behind the walls, active Bulldogs going at it. You don't never really hear those stories. Anyways, man, there's your part 2. With that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I honestly and truly believe in. That's the betterment of all people. If you guys enjoy these type of videos, these reactions to these prison stories, these war stories, these tales, the history, hit a 1 in the comment section, man, and I appreciate you guys. We're going to get into a whole bunch of different things here on my channel as we recreate Gunners Collective TV collectively. Let's keep it pushing, keep it going. This video is sponsored by Barrio Liquors out there in Turlock, California. If you're in the Turlock Central Valley area, pull up to the Barrio and get you some icy, slushy, and cold to drink. Also by Sticks and Stones Yard Service in Tucson, Arizona. If you're in the Tucson area and you need some yard work done, please call Sticks and Stones Yard Service and get a Google them and get an estimate. I appreciate all the raza and everyone, man, that's coming in here listening to these stories. Bang, bang.